Hey guys, welcome to Beverly Explains It All. Today I have a fantastic guest. I am interviewing Miss World Traveler, Kerry Damiano. Kerry was able to basically combine all of her passions, pageantry, traveling, and her faith into a brand, which is Miss World Traveler. She has a fantastic YouTube channel and a thriving Instagram page. So just listen ahead and you can live vicariously through her travels because this is a really exciting interview. It also just inspires people to not give up in life and to keep going because as long as you have breath in your body, you have a mission and something to do. So check this out. It's a fun one.
Okay, let's get real. Do you sometimes feel like life's just a never ending loop of wake up, drink coffee, go to work, waste countless hours scrolling online, eat, watch TV, maybe read a book, sleep, and then repeat? Have you ever really thought, is this really it? Guess what? You're not the only one. I help people just like you, well, and me, to get unstuck. I'm bringing on amazing guests who will inspire you, challenge you, and maybe even blow your mind. Let's face it, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you got. But lucky for you, I know exactly how to help. With a little bit of woo and a whole lot of you, it's time to unstick your stuck and shake that thing up. Let's do this on Beverly Explains It All.
Hi, guys. Welcome to Beverly Explains. Today, I have a wonderful guest. I have Miss World Traveler, Kerry Damiano. She is a very experienced world traveler. We're going to get all into it. How are you today, Kerry?
Doing great. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited too. You have been by far, you're my most luxurious guest. I am always like in awe of your beauty and your hair. I am like loving it. I tried to step it up. I was like, let me throw on some lip gloss because I have to come correct in front of a pageant queen over here.
It's funny.
It's the truth. Just to start off, I like to play a little 3-question icebreaker game with my guests. Are you in to play?
I'm ready.
Yes. Okay. Number 1. Have you ever booked a trip on a total whim and just like packed and gone?
No.
No.
Well, now, is this one of those you want to hear an explanation, or did you just want yes or no quick answers?
Whatever you'd like. Do you want to explain, or are you just like, nope?
Yeah, I'm a planner. There's no, on a whim in my life.
I am so with you. It's like the older I get, the more type A I feel like I'm becoming. And I don't mind it because I'm like, oh my God, I overpack anyway. But yeah, I need a little bit of notice.
Well, and not only that, you just pay so much more. Now, every once in a while there's, great deals and okay, you can get something. But most of the time, if you book, like a flight or a hotel, right before you go, you're paying their maximum rate.
Yeah.
So I always try to book way in advance and get like early bird specials.
You're right on target and correct. I know that unfortunately too well. So, all right. My next question is, do you think that pageants still get misunderstood more than they should?
Absolutely. If you are not in the pageant world, you only see it from the outside. And that's not what it is. Thing in life, right? You hear about something and you only hear the bad things. So you get a perception that may not be correct. And certainly pageantry is that way. So I always like to tell people, don't make up your mind until you've been in it, been in the trenches, or know somebody, or been a family member or a supporter or a volunteer. Get into it and then make up your mind.
I love that. I mean, just so you can make like an informed decision, because people do
Exactly.
stereotypes all the time with everything. Yeah.
That's right.
And my last question is, have you ever had this is it, I'm moving here moment while traveling?
Oh, that's a hard question. There have been times that I've said, ooh, I could live here. I mean, it's so beautiful. I feel at home. But then you go back to reality and you go, it's not even practical. What was I thinking? So I've never actually, gone home and, sold my house.
I got you. I've known a couple of people who have, which is really wild to me. They're like,
Really?
Japan was so amazing. I'm just going to pack up and move. And I'm like, whoa, like, that takes a lot of work.
It does. It does. It's, Well, now that you say it, maybe I should back up. My first overseas trip, I fell in love with travel. And we'll probably come back and talk a little bit more about that. But when it was time to figure out what I wanted to do after college, I moved to London and I lived there for over a year.
Oh,
So
wow.
maybe I did do that, but it was a much more well thought out, planner in me.
Yeah. It wasn't just the whim. It was like, oh, wait,
It
I'm
was
going to do this. I
yeah,
want to do
yeah,
this.
it's not
It's
a whim.
happening. I get it.
Yeah,
And London is
you
on
know.
my bucket list, by the way.
Is it?
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Like, I just love traveling. Well, I'm sure we're going to get into that too. But first, can you
yes.
please tell my listeners exactly who you are and what you're all about?
Sure. Well, I call myself Ms. World Traveler, and it's a self-appointed title, which means nobody can take it away from me. But
Okay.
how that came about was, over 40 years in the pageant industry. So the little sash that I'm wearing and the title is a bit of a marketing shtick. It's an homage to my years in pageantry, and then my love of travel. And it's something that is a great passion of mine, and I want to share it with other people. So that's kind of how that came to be.
That is so cool. I mean, I love that you were able to combine all of your passions because I feel like I'm a faceted person. And I'm always like, well, how do I actually figure out everything and explain to people what I do? Like, I'm an entertainer, I'm a creator, I'm a writer, like, I'm a podcaster. But it's like, it's okay. You don't have to be just one thing. And I love that you've combined all of your years of experience into your passion.
Well, we all are the sum total of what we've experienced, our upbringing, faith, our education, our family life. All of those things make each one of us have a unique set of circumstances, and combine that with your personality and your abilities, and there's something that's just for you.
Yeah.
And so, kind of figuring out what that is that moment, right?
100%. Man, so I have a few questions for you, and I just want to start it out asking, like, what was a turning point that made you say, you know what, I'm going to see the world and actually start doing it?
Right. Well, my first overseas trip was in 1984 as a college graduation present, and I went with my mom. And we did one of those, 10 countries in 17 days kind of a thing. And I got addicted. I loved it. And so my mom and I traveled together for the next 10 years.
Wow.
And then after that, it was kind of like, I want to try it on my own. I'm feeling independent. I,
Mhm.
wanted to sort of see it on my own terms. So it wasn't necessarily a turning point. It was just sort of a gradual, I set my foundation. I learned what it was about, knew I loved it, and then realized I wanted to do that on my own. So for the past 30 plus years, I have been, traveling solo.
That's so incredible. I mean, I just had a guest on, and she owns a Black luxury travel agency.
Mm.
And she encourages a lot of women actually to travel like solo, and she puts them together on like tour groups. But I mean,
Wonderful.
how did you get into solo travel after actually, traveling with your mom? Because what I had discussed with my former guest was a lot of women have a lot of apprehension. I can speak from my own
Yes.
experience. I've never done solo travel. I'm tempted, but I am
Mhm.
also, I don't know, I don't think I'm that nervous of a person. But at the same time, when you're in like an unfamiliar surrounding, like, how do you get over
Mhm.
that initial fear?
Well, you do realize that was like 6 different questions.
I know. I was like, well, I'm asking a lot here.
You're absolutely right that, I think we have fears that we don't necessarily even know that we have. And so I think if you can uncover what the fear is. So sometimes women ask me, aren't you afraid of being alone? Aren't you afraid for your safety? How can you afford it? They have all of these things. And I think if you can pinpoint what the thing is that is your sticking point that keeps you from doing it. If you think it's, I don't really want to be alone, then join a group or take a tour or,
Yeah.
there's lots of ways so I think you have to pinpoint what it is that causes you that anxiety, that fear, and then address that specific thing.
That's such a smart answer. When you were going into this, did you have a specific fear? Was there anything that like scared you?
Well, not really, because I had been traveling for 10 years. Yes, with my mom. So, there was that taking care of each other kind of a thing. But I learned the skills of how to figure things out. And keep in mind, this was in the 80s when I started. So there was no Google Maps, there was no cell phone, there was no, you had to actually read a map. And, we would set, I mean, seriously, and there was no translation apps. You had to figure out how to communicate with people the old-fashioned way, with hand gestures.
Oh gosh.
So I feel like I had some skills in place before I started doing it, by myself. So I didn't maybe have the same level of fear that some women do.
Yeah, because you had a little bit of experience, even though you didn't do it alone. It's like you weren't just throwing yourself out there.
Exactly.
I love it.
And so that's one of the things I tell women is start with baby steps. And it might be, just, go next town over, or, a little weekend getaway, and see how you like that. Do you like doing it by yourself? Do you like all the planning for yourself? Is it something that you can afford to do? Do you want to do more of that? Start small. And then, oh, I liked that. Don't start by going to Russia.
Right. Yeah.
That's your first trip.
I'm going to Syria. See you guys later.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you there. Like, I've been really toying around with going to Palm Springs by myself. It's not too far from me. I live in Burbank, California. And I don't love driving. So I was like, well, I could take the train. And then my little back of my mind fear is like, what if I'm just bored? And I'm like, but it's Palm Springs. And, half the time, why would I be bored? Like, there's plenty of things to do. And I enjoy my own company. And I think that's a big part of traveling, by yourself as well. Either get to know yourself or really try to enjoy your own company.
Well, and let me say on that too, that if you do research before you go, again, the planner in me says, look at what's, book tours, book shows, just figure out things that you want to do when you get there. And it's not that you necessarily have to do it, but then when you go, you're like, I've got lots of things to do. And if you feel like doing them, great. If you don't, that's okay too. But maybe you want to just ship the whole time, or whatever it is. But that way you won't feel like, I don't know. I'm nervous about what am I going to do when I get there? Am I going to be lonely? How am I going to fill my time?
Yeah. Yep. It's like you got options. And if you don't want to do them, it's okay. But they're there. You don't have to think about it.
Exactly.
Man, all right. So many women feel like it's just too late to start following their dreams. And that's part of the reason why I started this podcast, because I'm trying to get people unstuck in life, discover their passions, and, live their best lives, which it sounds like you're doing. Thank you. What would you say to women listening right now who just feel stuck and they're wondering if they've missed their moment?
Boulder Dash.
Yeah.
It's, and I say this a lot, it's just never too late, because, you're the best today that you've ever been in your life. When you look back, you're better than you were yesterday because you've had more experiences and you've learned more and you've met more people and you've done more. So tomorrow you're going to be even better than you are today. So there's this process of always continual improvement and seeking out new adventures and things like that. So it's never too late. Not until you're in the ground. That's when it's too late.
I am with you. I like it. It's like, it's about just encouraging people to really live life. Like, why would it ever be too late?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And again, because you're the best now that you ever have been, isn't this the time?
There you go.
Right. And one thing that I said when I turned 50, and that was a long time ago, but when I turned 50, I decided that I was going to have the philosophy of, instead of saying someday I want to, I wasn't going to do that anymore. That if I said someday I want to, I was just actually going to do it. And, I have lived true to that purpose, that I don't ever say that anymore. I just do it.
Ooh, that's so inspirational. That's such a good reminder too, because I'm like big on bucket lists. I have an episode about that, but just like, I'm going to do this one day and I'm going to do that one day. And I'm like, well, when am I going to do it? I keep saying it. And, like you said, I'm a planner as well. So I'm like, all right, now I'm just going to start a goal. Like, I'm going to save this much money and I am going to go to this place. Like, it's really going to happen.
Wonderful.
Like, Bali's on my bucket list. Like I said, London. And I'm like, but I'm not going to just keep saying it. Like, I have like an order in my head of where I'm going to these places because I got to do it.
Great. And it's more than with just travel too. It's, always wanted to be a photographer. Okay, let's start saving for a camera, or let's take some classes, or, why do we want to do it someday? Why don't we do it right now?
Yes. Man, I have a question talking about pageantry. I'll ask you this question, but I thought of a question just to preface it. But just to have this in the back of your mind, I mean, you've blended pageantry, travel, and faith into one beautiful brand. Very loving. Love your brand. Just excites me. How did you find the confidence to weave all your passions together? But first, before we touch on that, I want to know how you even got into pageantry, because it's such a regal thing that not a lot of people do. I mean, it's a lot of work. I have a cousin, like I told you, who does pageants, and I mean, the amount of dedication and fearlessness that really goes into it, people don't even really understand. So I'd love for you to talk about that a little bit first.
Sure. Well, I was in college, so I kind of started late, all things considered, but I was in that position in my life where that was a girly thing, and I was an athlete, and I was very into my studies, and so when I felt like I was getting this nudging from God to do this, and so I kind of argued. I'm like, well, if you want to do this, you need to bring someone into my life that knows something about it, because I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't know and this was before the internet. So all we had was the yellow pages. I just dated myself, right? All we had was the look up phones.
It's okay. I know what they are.
Okay, great. So anyway, it just so happened that at a very odd event, I met this woman who knew something. She was connected with the pageant world, and she then got me connected. And once I tried it, again, addicted, loved it, loved the sisterhood. Loved the motivating factor to be the best that you can be. It's really all about self-improvement, self-development, your own personal growth. And pageantry is just the carrot that dangles in front of you that says, be your best self. Work on your public speaking skills, work on your confidence, work on being your best physical self. So it's a good motivator. And that's what draws a lot of women to it.
Yeah.
But for me, I got addicted, and 40 years later, I'm just an overgrown pageant girl.
I think it's just a wonderful confidence booster. Like you said, I see the women who are actually doing it, and I'm like, wow, they are people that you look up to. And it makes me mad when there's stereotypes that are negative that, go along with it, because I'm like, these people are actually very brave, very talented, and great representatives,
Yes. Well, I'll tell people when they say it objectifies women, that I say, if you can get out on stage in a swimsuit, in high heels, in front of a whole audience that is clothed, you're the only one that doesn't have your clothes on, that is a confidence builder. If you can do that and you walk off stage and you go like, okay, what's harder than that? Really? What's harder?
That's true.
So if you feel like you've conquered that, you've conquered a fear, you got out of your comfort zone, you did it. All right, next, what's my next challenge?
Okay.
I'm ready.
You're like, I can certainly speak in public now.
Exactly.
Okay, so back to anything. I'm like, that would be very nerve-wracking. I'm like, I think I have the confidence to do it, but man, they make it look good.
I know.
Yeah. So back to my question. You were able to blend pageantry, travel, and faith into your beautiful brand. How did you find the confidence to weave all these passions together? And just to go along with that, what advice would you have to someone who feels torn between their interests?
Okay. So again, Beverly, you have asked me several questions all in the same question. So I'm going to try and, piece it out. So about the blending of passions, going back to what I said earlier about we are all the sum total of who we are, right? All the things that you love and all of your experiences. So for me, it wasn't that I necessarily tried to blend them. It's just who I am. I just, I started pageantry right around the same time, really. I started traveling, but so it wasn't so much about the confidence to do it. It was just me. It was just being me. And isn't that really the goal? Is not to be someone that you're not try to, to push yourself to be what somebody else is doing. Be who you are, what appeals to you. And if you do that, then you're being true to yourself, and that there's an innate confidence that comes from that.
Oh, I love it. Man, if people just stay true to themselves, the confident will just build.
Exactly. Exactly. The more you do it, the more confidence you get. And I'll use, travel as an example of that. Once you have gone on a trip by yourself and you figured everything out and you paid for it yourself and you kept yourself busy and you did all the things you wanted to do, after that, again, it's like, okay, what's next? What can't I do now? You gain confidence. The more you do it, the more that you get.
That's perfectly said. And I know, I'm sorry, I'm so long-winded. The part of that question as well was, what advice would you give to someone who feels torn between their interests? Like we were saying, we're multifaceted people, it's hard to pick one.
It is. And I'm not sure that you need to pick one, right? And I guess it depends on what your interests are. Some people are very good at like multitasking or, having different compartments. I do this and I do this and I do that. Great. Mm-hmm. Some people are more like I blend everything together. So I suppose it kind of, it depends on what your passions are. But in terms of pageantry, I hear this a lot. I hear from girls, well, I'm an athlete, so I don't do pageants. Right? You can be both. You can do both.
Yeah.
Right?
Why not?
You can. Exactly. You can be what you want to be, especially if that's who you are on the inside. So don't be afraid to say, I am interested in this. I'm interested in that, everything. I am a multifaceted person.
I really love just thinking in that kind of light, because it just feels like you put yourself in a box if you only allow yourself to do one thing that you might shine at. And I mean, you grew up with pageantry. I wouldn't have thought, pageants and traveling go together. But the way you were able to build your brand of Miss World Traveler, it's like, it just totally makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and, to me, that was a God thing, because I'll go back a little bit to like 2000. I knew something big was coming. Have you ever had that feeling where I know it's coming, but I finger on what it is? Mm-hmm. And sort of as each new thing, started doing some pageant coaching. Okay, Lord, is this it? And, it's not it, but it's what I have for you right now. And then I went into doing some fashion design. I had my own clothing line for a while. Is this it? This is what I have for you right now. Okay. So all of these things over the last 20 odd years, sort of putting together. And then when I finally realized what it was like the scales were lifted off of my eyes and I could see what Ms. World Traveler was, it's this picture, everything I had been doing for the last 20 some years. And I realized that I needed to go get all of those pieces of experience, build the network. The technology had to be in the right place. Money had to be in the right place. All these things, it took all of that time for the big thing to be revealed, because I wasn't ready. It wasn't ready. So, there was just a lot of sort of comfort and peace in that, I get it now. I get why I had to wait so long.
I love that. I love that you just like let your heart be open, your mind be open. You really listen to God, you listen to your higher power, and everything just fell into place and is the way it's supposed to be.
That's right. That's right.
I think a lot of that, would you say, is from just trusting your instincts and just believing in yourself, believing in the higher power?
Absolutely. Both. Believing that you have the ability to do it, and trusting that there's a perfect plan for you.
Yeah, I'm with it. I believe that 1,000,000%. I have to dig into finding out some of these countries that you've been to, because I love traveling. I know you've been to 130 countries. I would like to know your favorite places to visit and why.
Okay, great. Well, I'll do like the low-hanging fruit first.
Okay.
2 years ago, I had it on my bucket list for many, many years to go live in Paris. Well, it wasn't practical to really go do that. So I was able to carve out 5 weeks, and I worked on Ms. World Traveler, the whole time. So I was working, but I lived there as a local, shopped in the grocery stores, rented an apartment, didn't do touristy things. I tried to really embrace the local life.
That is really
unbelievable. I just can't say enough about what an amazing time that was. But so when people say, I don't know where to go, where should I go for? Okay, Paris.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And it's different today. The first time I went was in 1984, and very few people spoke English, and it was hard to get around. But now, with internet, we are a much more global economy,
True.
and virtually everybody speaks English, and it's just so much easier to get around, with technical help. So that, to me, that's kind of a low-hanging fruit. You got to go to Paris. But then, in terms of other countries, I have different favorites for different reasons. So, for example, I would say for friendliness of the people, I love New Zealand. The first time I went was like 28 years ago. And I had always said that was one of my favorite places for friendliness of the people. And then we went back for Ms. World Traveler a year ago, December. And it's still true today. That they're still they love Americans. They're just friendly, open-hearted people. So it's also a place they speak English. So if you're looking for a great place to go that's incredibly beautiful and easy to get around, easy to communicate with people, New Zealand.
That was just like one of your places. I've always said New Zealand, but never felt like the rush to go. But every time I see a picture, I'm like, oh my God, it's incredible.
It's just breathtaking. It truly is.
Wow. Okay. So can I ask?
You're moving it higher on your list, aren't you?
Oh yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. I haven't even revealed to you yet that I actually have a trip to Fiji planned this summer. So when you said New Zealand, I'm like, well, it's in the area.
It is.
It is. So I'm pretty sure I'll make it back to that side of the world again. And I'm like, okay, New Zealand, you're still there, because Australia as well.
Yes.
That little pocket.
And those are good to hit at the same time, because for that trip, your cost is in getting there. It's a long flight. So you're coming from the East Coast. Is that
I'm
right?
coming from California.
From California. Sorry, you did say that. But still, it's a long flight. So if you can hit a couple things while you're there.
Yes.
And this is one, a lot of people ask me about how do you save money when you travel? And that's one of the things that I do. I really try, and once I get there, I try and see as much as possible, because the hops are inexpensive in comparison to how long and the money that it takes you to actually get there.
Oh no, that's so true. It's kind of like just going to Europe and being like, I'm only gonna go to Paris. It's like, no way, man. Like, I'm going everywhere.
Exactly.
The only reason why I'm only going to Fiji this trip is because hopefully my boss isn't listening to this, but I will still be working. And I work in entertainment, so it's like a little hiatus time, and I'm gonna ask for maybe a day off. But my husband is a teacher. Since he has the summer off, generally I try to get a nice large vacation during that time. But this is going to be a quick little 13-day trip to Fiji, but it will not be the last time.
Good.
I've never been to that. I mean, do you call it the South Pacific area? Like, what area of the world is that?
Yeah.
So, I've never been to the
South Pacific, even French Polynesia. Yeah. But South Pacific, I have gotten off the plane in Fiji en route. I've never done it, but I did recently, about 10 years ago, maybe, did Tahiti, Bora Bora, did a cruise, all of that area. Moorea, that was absolutely beautiful.
Okay. Have you been to every continent?
I have not been to the South Pole yet.
Hey, that's not too bad.
So 6 out of the 7.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh. Can you tell me what your biggest lesson you've learned about yourself traveling to all these countries?
Is to appreciate what we have at home. There's nothing like going somewhere new and seeing how different people live, their culture and just their way, their lifestyle, to make you appreciate your own. It's so easy to complain about whatever it is that is bothering you, because there's problems everywhere, and we have our share of problems. But if you focus on that instead of on the amazing things that we have to offer, and then you go somewhere else and you see, it's a pretty good wake-up call to say, wow, I need to be grateful for what I have.
1,000,000%. Yeah, it's hard to remember all the time how blessed we are. And then when you see other countries that may not be as fortunate as us, it's like, wow,
Yeah. Well, the little things we take for granted, like electricity. When you walk into a room, you flip the switch and the light always goes on. We just take that for granted. And this is a few years ago, I was in Madagascar, which is one of the poorest countries in the world, and only 24% of their population has electricity.
Wow. Wow.
So a little thing we take for granted, and you go there and you realize, okay, we're pretty darn blessed.
I'm 1,000,000%. That's such a human quality to remember. And I love that travel has put that in perspective for you. And I think that can happen for many people who just step out of their comfort zone,
Exactly.
I'd love to know how you personally define living your best life.
For me, that's pretty easy. It's doing what you love, living your passion, whatever that is. And for every person, obviously, it's different. But if you do what you love and you live your passion, you wake up every morning energized, joyful, excited for the day. And that's kind of where I am right now. I'm at the point where I should be thinking about retirement, and I'm not. I started a new business and I'm working harder than I've ever worked and loving every moment of it.
Love it.
Because it just energizes me. And I'm guessing that you feel the same way about your podcast.
Oh yeah, I totally love it. I'm jazzed up all the time. I'm like, I get to meet new people. But it's like, it's something I feel like that keeps you young. It keeps you going, keeps you thriving,
Yes. Excited about life. And that's, I don't think any of us ever look at retirement as sitting in a rocking chair on a porch, right?
Right. Especially not in this day and age.
Not in this day and age, right? So that just being energized and loving what you do, to me, that's the fountain of youth.
I'm learning from you right now. I'm like, okay, you're not going to stop. I'm going to keep traveling forever.
Right.
To go along with that question a little bit, as someone who started a digital brand later in life, what encouragement would you give to women who are just afraid to jump into something new, especially online? You and I were talking about the technical difficulties that we face.
Yes. Well, this is going to sound, a little tongue in cheek, but hire a young person.
Not mad at it.
That's my answer. But I was pretty nervous about the technical side of this. It's all digital. It's an all digital platform. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and I had never been on Instagram before, and it was a bit intimidating, right? Yeah. So didn't grow up with that. When I went to college, we actually took a computer class to learn programming.
Yeah.
So nobody had computers. So the point is that the technical revolution sort of passed me by, and I was a bit intimidated by it. So I hired my niece to come alongside me, and then she just kind of trained me, taught me along the way, was patient with me as I asked stupid questions.
I need her. I'm like, I need her. I mean, people think I'm young, but it's like, people in their 20s or teens even know way more. Because I'm like, what? Like, Instagram, it's confusing.
It is. So while that's kind of tongue in cheek to, hire a young person, but the point is you can get around that feeling of being intimidated because there are people who are willing to help you, and don't be afraid to ask. Ask for help. Young people are kind of used to, that's a stupid question because they grew up with it and it's innate for them and it's not for us.
Isn't that wild? I'm always like, I look at my 11-year-old nephew. He's like, give me your phone. And I'm like, how?
I know.
How do you know?
Just do.
Right, slow down. Mad. Like, what would you like for people to learn from you just for being like Miss World Traveler? When they go to your website or when they read about you, what would you like them to learn from you?
Well, it's not necessarily what they're going to learn from me, but when I first started this, I did some research on what other travel blogs and what are other travel experts talking about, and there was an amazing plethora of where to go, where to stay, lots and lots of great tips, and I realized that wasn't where my heart was and what I wanted to talk about. And there's too many people already doing it. So I was able to set myself aside by doing what I'm interested in, which was style, fashion, design, architecture, culture, history. So combining sort of all of those things on my show, it's about travel, but it's also about more than that. It's about style and fashion. And so you're going to see something different. So what I hope is that they learn that Travel isn't a little box, that you must do it this way and you must get off the beaten track and you must go binging, jumping off that there's many different kinds of travel and there's something for everybody.
I love that you said that. It's funny because my husband and I are like the scaredy cats out of all of our friends when it comes to traveling. When you said bungee jumping, one of my friends that we're going to Fiji with was like, okay, so you guys zip line, right? And I was like, no. He's like, helicopters? I'm like, are you crazy? Like, no. Like, we'll be on the land. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
And then my sister is like a total like luxury. She wants a beautiful hotel. She wants room service. She's that kind of traveler. I don't mind it, but I also like to get out and explore. So yes. I think it's kind of cool when you kind of get to know what kind of traveler you are. But I love your aspect of incorporating style with it and keeping the history. There's just so much to do with that.
Much. Yes. So much that you can't cover it all. When we go and we do it very fast, but we get lots and lots and lots of footage, and then we try and put it down into just this little easily digestible bucket.
Yeah.
Because really nobody spends a lot of time listening to things. They want it fast. So sure. you can't even cover all the good stuff. So you just do what you can, right?
It's like a bite-sized episode of just giving them a taste of what they can really get to know and see.
Yes. Yeah. And our whole mission is to inspire women to travel and then shop local. Or, go somewhere new, see something different, learn something. Travel for me has always been a continuing education.
Yes.
You can't go somewhere new and not learn something unless you're really trying hard not to.
Right. Yeah. I love that because I almost feel like it needs to be a tax write-off because I'm like, wait, this is like continued education. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
God, speaking of like style and just the glamorous side of things, what are a few glam travel essentials or rituals that always make you feel the most fabulous and empowered on, your most empowered self on the road?
Okay. Well, I have a few. One is lipstick. You will never see me ever. And I'm in Laos, out in the rural village, you will never see me without my lipstick on. Earrings. Now I'm wearing kind of small ones today, but I typically wear pretty large earrings, so earrings kind of make me feel finished. Like I finished my outfit. The other thing, and this is a little bit different than what a lot of other people who travel say, I just wear my normal clothes, meaning I don't try to have a whole different, kind of wardrobe for travel. I'm just me. I'm me all the time. And that serves me well because it makes me feel like me.
Yeah.
I don't want to pretend I'm someone that I'm not, even when I'm traveling.
But the thing is, you are already fabulous and stunning, and like your outfit already, what I see, I'm like, okay. But most of us are just like in sweats. So you're already ready to go.
Well, true. But I do put thought into comfort and, that sort of thing, like, especially on a really long flight, I try on lots of different outfits. Okay, how comfortable am I going to be in this for hours? Is this, elastic band going to dig into my waist after 15 hours of sitting? So I do spend time, thinking about those kinds of things, but it's still just my regular clothes.
I like that a lot. It's making me think because my husband and I actually just went to San Diego over the weekend, and I was like, it was a little more dreary outside than I thought. So I was wearing, I would say, my bummy clothes, but I bought I like to buy at least one vacation outfit. And I was like, well, I don't know if I can wear it. But now when you said like lipstick, I'm like, wow, if you just put like lipstick on with jeans, for me at least, I feel super feminine. I'm like you. I can't go anywhere without earrings. I feel like a boy for some reason. I don't know why, especially with my hair pulled back. Like I have to have earrings. But I love just I don't know, the feeling how lipstick makes you feel. And I'm thinking of that as a nice little accessory to add to like clothing, just for the glam factor.
And when you think about it, it takes up this much room.
It's true.
So real estate becomes very important in your suitcase when you're traveling. So things that make you feel good about yourself and that don't take up very much space, that should be on the top of your list.
Thank you. I'm gonna keep that in mind because I'm notorious for overpacking. I don't know why I do it. It's honestly a disease, but it always happens. I can't help myself. I'm like, well, just in case we stay an extra day. And my husband's like, we're not staying an extra day. I don't. What if it rains? He's like, we're going to Hawaii. Like it's fine. You can't help myself.
But by the way, before we move on to the next question, since you just mentioned San Diego, we are in our San Diego series on Ms. World Traveler right now. We were there in February and did our filming, and it takes you a couple months before we actually release it. And we have 5 parts, and we will be releasing 5. So we've already released 4 on Friday. So if you want to go back, and since you were just there, have a little peek at it, you might see some things that you saw and bring back some nice memories.
Yes, I will. San Diego is, it's my staycation home away from home. It's only about 2.5, 3 hours away from me. I love that city or that area. We stayed on 6th Street, which was in the Gaslamp District. We went to Mission Bay. I feel like every time I go there, and I've been there a handful of times, like I just discover another part of the area I've never seen, like Old Town, the best Mexican food ever. God, just so many places. So I look forward to going back and checking out your videos because I'm encouraging everybody. We're going to talk about them, but you guys have to see. There used to be a show on E! Television called Wild on E! And Brooke Burke, I think, was the host, and she would go to different little locales and kind of like just show all the cool places. And when I was watching one of your episodes, I was just like, this reminds me of that. And it's such a fun take on it because it's stylish. It's like, it's useful to me and it's informative. And that's so helpful when trying to pick a place to travel to. So I appreciate that.
Good. I'm so glad.
100%. Well, a couple more questions in here. Confidence obviously is a big theme in your world, whether it's for pageantry or travel. What helps you feel the most confident when stepping into something unknown?
Wow. I've never suffered from a lack of confidence per se. And I realize that there's a very fine line between confidence and arrogance. Try never to cross that line. But I would say I'm pretty confident in my ability to do things that I want to do. There are things I'm not confident about at all, but there are also things I don't want to do. Yeah. So for example, I don't have any ability to fix what's wrong with my car. I don't think I'm too stupid to learn how to fix my car. I just don't want to.
Boom. I actually might be too stupid. It's like, but no, I don't want to.
Exactly. So you get what I mean? That if it's something that I want to do, I will just do it. For example, when I started my fashion line, didn't have any training in design. I just had a good eye for color, and been doing a lot of wardrobe consulting and done some of my own things. I decided I was just going to do a fashion line.
I love it.
Not a single piece sold. I lost my shirt on it.
Oh no. But you were fearless.
But I didn't suffer from a lack of confidence.
But you took the risk though. And that's what I think makes life beautiful. I think that's something that makes you feel unstuck when, even if it doesn't work, look where it's led you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There was a purpose. There was something to learn. It was like a gauntlet that I had to go through in order to come out the other side and realize, look what I brought with me. It didn't have the success that I thought it might have. It had a different kind of success, that I learned something and that I made new contacts. And, there were just a number of wonderful things that came out of it, even though it was not a financial success.
But it led to financial success. That's the thing.
Exactly. It leads to whatever the next hurdle is or, mountaintop is on your journey.
And I think that's something that's really important for people to remember and keep in mind. Just because the first thing that you're inspired by does not work, doesn't mean it's not going to lead to a new adventure or something that you're even more passionate about, or that's even going to become even more lucrative.
Right. It's not think anybody's journey is straight, right? It's all kind of this. You try this one, didn't work. Okay, so you like a river, okay, well, I hit a rock. So I go this way and I hit another rock, and it's all about pivoting, right?
Yeah. I'd say this is like the third iteration, I'd say, of the concept of my podcast. And, ultimately I was like, if I have this platform and I have this voice, I want to try to help people. but I was like, I don't know how. I don't know what I'm doing. And then I'm like, oh, but I can talk to people who do. And I can kind of help
Yes.
myself get unstuck while hopefully helping others get
Yes.
unstuck. And,
Beautiful.
I just love that you could pivot into something. And this might not be where it is, wholly, fully. I know ultimately I
Mhm.
want people to be helped and to learn something and to learn from others like you. And the feedback's been good. People want to travel. They're going to go to your site so they can learn places or see places they've never been. So it's just really
Wonderful.
exciting. And I love that answer that you gave.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
100%. This is the last question, and it's one that I really like. You've got to see the world and you've lived many lives. What's something that you're still excited to explore or become in this next season?
I don't look out so much because I feel like part of trusting God is to trust that He has a perfect plan. And so I just put myself under that authority to go where I'm sent. So I don't do a lot of, I said I was a planner, but I try not to plan out my life, as to what my direction is. But I'm also in a very interesting season that my mother is elderly and, you have to face the end of life stage. And so I'm not making a lot of plans right now because when I get the call, I have to drop everything. And so, there's beautiful, wonderful things that God has in store for me, but I also have to walk through this season. And so, I'm looking forward to whatever is next.
I love that. And that's the answer in itself. You're looking forward to whatever is going to come because good things are going to come. I'm sorry to hear about your mom. And at the same time, like you said, this is a part of life. And I trust that God does know what He's doing. Obviously, Jesus has the wheel. The Lord is just going to make everything okay, as He always does,
Exactly.
Wow. And
Thank
who
you for
knows,
saying that.
of course, who knows what area of the world you will be in next.
Right. Even I don't know sometimes. Sometimes things just come up. It's like, this is where you need to go. All right, I'm off.
Okay.
In 6 months.
Okay. I know I said that was the last question, but give me your top 10 places you've traveled. And I know it's hard to probably think of them all, but just,
Ooh. Okay. Well, I lived in London for a while, so that's one. I just returned. I was there in March, but spent a month in Barcelona, and that's wonderful. I spent a month in Rome last year. That was amazing. Australia. I did a vacation to like Southeast Asia, and I hit Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia last November. And those were all just really amazing. Though I would say those are not for beginner travelers.
Okay. Yes.
They would be for a little bit more experienced traveler. There's places around the US that I just love too. We recently covered New Orleans on the show. We did Nashville, and that's just an amazing, wonderful place. So how many is that? Because I could keep going and going and going.
I know, right? That's you're good. You're good. I have a few of those I want to visit big time. I haven't been to New Orleans since I was a child, and I've never been to Nashville, and I just want some of the food there.
You would love it. So much history and, very much the birthplace of a very American form of music, with country music. We were the birthplace of that. And so to sort of go right to the source, there's something quite amazing about that.
It's definitely on my list. I feel like places in America, the States, are a little more attainable. It's just not as expensive, So it's on my list. This is beautiful. Thank you so much for that. You're fantastic. So fabulous.
Yeah.
I'd love to give you an opportunity to plug your YouTube channel, your coaching, your website, anything you'd like to plug.
Okay, sure. Well, obviously, please follow us on YouTube, our Ms. MS World Traveler. If you just Google it, it'll come up on YouTube. And we also are on Instagram, and that's Kerry, Ms. World Traveler. And Kerry is Kerry, MS, Ms. World Traveler. So Kerry, Ms. World Traveler. And that's on Facebook as well. So, come along for the journey. We have fun. We go interesting places. We meet interesting people. And I think it'll be something that women really enjoy.
It's so cool. I mean, if you can't get out and travel right now, you can live vicariously through Kerry.
Exactly.
You know, go ahead. I'm going to go back in my mind to San Diego and watch your series today because I miss it already. I already told my husband, okay, the next trip that we do in California, I want to go back to San Diego.
Well, and I have a Palm Springs episode too. That'll be a little further back. It was a couple years ago, but we again visited some wonderful places, and you might, if you're thinking about going, you might think, I need to hit those spots.
Oh, yes. I'm actually going in August, so I will check that out because it's like, I love Palm Springs. I usually feel like I do nothing, but I just eat fabulous, eat at fabulous restaurants. I walk around the same areas that always feel new, but I'm just like, well, what is there to do? So that's exciting.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for
You have a
that.
wonderful time.
Oh, I love it. It's so hot. It's ridiculous. What, may I ask you, is your mantra, a quote, or words that you live by?
Well, I say this at the end of our episode that it's never too late to go somewhere new and try something different. So I feel like that kind of sums up just go out, do it. Don't be afraid. It's never too late.
All right, people, you heard it from Kerry herself. The age does not matter. You can save, be a planner. You can make things happen. Get unstuck in your life and just make it happen, right?
Amen. Let's do it.
Kerry, thank you so much. I know my listeners are going to join and check out your website. You are fabulous. You are absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
So happy to have met you. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Well, thanks again for having me.
Of course. Okay, guys, this was Beverly Explains It All. Make sure you check out Kerry's Miss World Traveler, Instagram and YouTube. I'll have all the information on the show notes, and enjoy. Bye for now.